Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser, brought to you by our good friends at Reckless Coffee Roasters. It is Monday. Grumpy is in effect. Not as grumpy, but it is still Monday, so he's a little grumpy. And Matush, the Polish prince, is with us. What's happening?
Not as grumpy as well. A pretty great weekend, honestly. City dropping points. Liverpool. What's this called? It's called a clean sheet. Is that when you don't give up any goals? Is that what? Yeah. Is that what we're going with? It's great. It feels really good, you guys.
It did. That was, like I said, I was really, I'm always nervous, but I was really nervous about this one just because I really felt Brentford could counter better. And to be fair, they had a couple of chances where if their first touch was better and stuff like that, it could have been really dangerous. They just could never make it happen. And once we scored the first goal, I think it was like a lot easier moving forward. But overall, like before the game, when we looked at the lineup, we were worried based on the week's performance, right?
Yeah.
Endo and Costas. First off, how shocked are you that they were both out there after what we saw during the week? And what did you make of how they played?
I mean, from one hand, you have to look at it going, who else would have played in that position, given who was available, right? Were we going to do a Gakpo, Soboslai, Elliott midfield? Like, that just screams nightmares to me, honestly. So I think based on what was available, that was what we could put out there. And Costas is weird, man. Like I think if he's mentally in it, he can be great. But I just feel like so often you kind of know what you're going to get with Costas, right? You're going to get him pushing forward. You're going to get a couple good balls in, but you're going to have to give up some defending. And I feel like it's sort of what we got yesterday in a nutshell, is that we just got really good Costas going forward. And today or yesterday specifically, he was able to actually beat the first guy on his crosses, whereas that's been a big problem the last couple of weeks. So I think him having the confidence and the consistency and the ability to do that will only help him feel better, because I feel like he's one of those confidence players. And now that he's going to get a few matches under his belt, and we're going to need him through to at least January, right? It's going to be really big, especially coming after the national break with this little game that we have against, I don't know. It's just
I hate it that it's
City.
right after it would already be a lot of like talking points and stuff like that and overhyped and stuff. If it was like in a regular week, if you had like 5 days to it or something like that, just having 2 weeks for it is just gonna,
misery.
Yeah, it is misery. Chris says the difference in having an actual six out there and the position made all the difference. Here's the thing with Endo. On Thursday he was pretty darn brutal. Always a second behind everything. Sparky says Endo had solid game, but it could have. Yes, like I say, on Thursday his yellow should have been a red, and then he had another one. So there were 3 different yellows he could have gotten. He only got one of them and got away with it at halftime, and that's probably why he was taken out before he gets the red. But I felt like yesterday, not necessarily maybe. He did break down a lot of balls, and like Chris is right, it did help us like keep our shape and everything. But I felt he was out there. This is odd to say, but he was out there doing some fouls and taking some fouls to stop some counters and stuff. That if we had it in the game against Luton Town, like we do not concede. That's what we were missing out there. Either cut the ball off or stop the counter with like a small foul. And then, did a lot of like Fernandinho, Fabinho type fouls out there, which is like a, vintage defensive midfielder foul that we kind of missed.
And he doesn't even have the Brazilian black magic to keep him away from red cards, but yet it still worked. I think we're pretty lucky to have not seen him leave the field yesterday on a red. I think to Chris's point, it helps having the natural six out there, maybe to keep the shape, but as well to almost free the rest of the team in not feeling so much responsibility of having to help each other potentially in that midfield, in that area, but feeling more comfortable knowing that with the six back there, they don't have to worry as much, and then you get to free yourself up and then be able to play your own game a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it enables you to, right, like know I think it helped Costas push forward as well. Like knowing, so he can like have more space. One thing I loved seeing yesterday was I felt this is the widest Trent has played in a long time. And what do you know? It definitely helped. And I agree with Beckler. I mean, when we go back to Endo before we get to like Trent and like kind of how he played out there. Not only that, I feel like because of the way Endo came, like if Endo was the guy that we brought over for 60 million or something like that, I think he would be like he would get more time, he would probably get a lot more patience, and what he does on the pitch would be a lot more amplified because he feels like this afterthought, like nobody said yes, so we ended up taking this girl that we didn't even like that much to the prom, kind of an ordeal. Everything like everything he does is always taken with like I don't know.
And he just seems like such a nice guy, right? You look at him and go, this guy couldn't hurt a fucking fly. And then you see how he goes in for these challenges. You're like, oh wait, hold on, Endo the Destroyer, like watch out. So yeah, I think given, and we're not going to skirt around the fact with his age, many fans, many people just didn't really believe in the signing in the first place. So he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt that others get, like Nunez still gets, because he still has to learn the language, some people have said, right? So just like there's definitely I don't know, it's weird because I don't know if he's, and I'm sure we could agree that he's not the long-term fix in that position.
Yeah.
But if he's able to put in a shift like that to allow the rest of the team to play more freely and open in their natural positions, to not feel so much pressure and responsibility defensively, then that just kind of amplifies the rest of the team. He doesn't have to amplify it with how loud he is. He amplifies it by the way that he goes in for a tackle. Really, he's like one of those guys that will get a tackle in and get the crowd going. And we just, like you said, we've been missing that for a bit, especially without Milner. Milner was the guy that would come in, put a crunching tackle in, and be like, hey guys, like wake the fuck up. Endo, he won't look at you to tell you to wake up, but he'll put a tackle in, and then he'll just get up and he'll go, okay, yeah, that's where we're at.
Football Flashback finally wins a bet, by the way. So yes, Salah would score. I mean, the first and the third, that can't be very high odds. The Costas assist might make that parlay a bit more.
Parlay it all together, yeah.
Yeah, more palatable probably. So well, about time, man. Lots were lost along the way, so this is good to have something in the route overway. Hey, before we forget over here, as it says underneath your screen right now, do not forget to head on over to YouTube channel right now. If you're watching us on Facebook, run over to YouTube, give us a subscribe there. And if you're already on there, go grab somebody and say, hey, come over here and subscribe to these guys. Grab them by the ear, drag them over. And while you're at it, once you're done with that, then head on over to our sponsor at recklesscoffeeroasters.com. Okay, so very early. I know we're going to have 2 freaking weeks to talk about it. But before we go on to the next player, want to ask you this. Against City, do you start Endo there? Or Mac is back? Aha! You thought you had 2 weeks to plan out for this, but no.
I think Mac goes back in. I just don't see Klopp not playing McAllister. He's sort of like McAllister and Szoboszlai are guaranteed to have 2 of those 3 spots every week, as long as they're fit, as long as they're available. The third one can be rotated, but I don't. As much as, unfortunately, as poorly as Szoboszlai's played the last few weeks, I still think he has that spot, and he's not necessarily worried about it, which maybe is a problem. Maybe he just has been a little bit more lackadaisical and not so focused. But the kid is playing 100 minutes every game, goes to Hungary, plays 200 minutes, comes back, plays 100 minutes every game. And so maybe he's just a little leggy, and we just took for granted how good he was, because it was such a quick reaction to a new player. But yeah, I think McAllister and not Endo for City would be the way to go for Klopp, at least right now.
I agree, and I think it's I think I say that only because of City. I'm trying to figure out in my head why I feel that way, but I think it's mainly because it is City. I think I'd rather see McAllister's experience there with the pace of the game of the Premier League as opposed to, because you are playing against City. They will move you all over the place with their passing. I just don't know. I just feel like Endo is going to back and back and back and suddenly be between the two center backs. Who I can't remember. Ryan was mentioning that Virgin Matip, who's seen behind you praying. Were my players of the match. They didn't face the most dynamic attack, but they were. I think they made it look less dynamic than it was as well. A lot of timely stepping up to the ball and cutting off passes and stuff like that. And I was seeing it all over that Van Dijk coming closer and closer to the Van Dijk that we are used to. Ryan is starting Endo and Gomez on left. Mac plays higher up. I don't think that
against City.
Gomez on left is very interesting just because it doesn't give you attacking impetus, but it gives you a lot better defensively, I think. Yeah, I rather not worry about. Yep, I don't think so. I think it's still Mac, Szoboszlai, and I don't know if Jones is going to be ready by then. I know he's hurt.
Even if he is, I don't think he plays.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't have any time before that.
Than Gravenberg. Nothing against Gravenberg or John's favorites, but
the gravity train.
Just just for like defensive work, I think I would rather have that. Don't forget how exhausted I was after returning after the night. That's another thing too. I think it depends on. I have not looked, and I know like we're gonna have a lot of time to look at that. I just want to throw you under the bus real quick and answer that question, but. Let's go back to the game and the lineup and some of the performances. Trent, I think Sparky was saying earlier that he's worried about. There you go. He's like, I worry about Trent. He's so talented, but lazy at times, especially in defense. Honestly, we have not helped that cause, right? By moving into that spot, it's almost like you have to defend even less. So, like when you put him out wide, he did have a couple of good moments, but there was a few times where I was like, dude, what are you doing? Kind of a deal. Like, where are you at? Why are you even there? Kind of an ordeal. But we did see him out wide a lot of times. And lo and behold, it was a lot more dangerous and we were a lot more effective on that right wing. Will we continue this experiment or
I don't think it's an experiment anymore. I think it's the formation. So I don't
I wish it was an experiment. Maybe that's why.
So I hate to break it to you, but I don't think we see it go anywhere anytime soon. But I do agree to your point that if by inverting him and having him have potentially less defensive responsibilities, it allows him to turn off a little bit more. I feel like Trent does show up for bigger games, though. Unfortunately, it's one of those. I don't think he's always in it consistently with his head, but when he's there, he's locked in. And I think we've seen fewer examples of him not showing up for bigger matches than the examples we've seen of him not showing up for when we're playing down to competition. So I think City coming back from the international break with potentially, and I know this is going to be the 12th week of the season, guys, but technically the title race, it's in our hands, right? We are in control of the title because if we beat City, we are in control. That's pretty much it. So it's too stupidly early to say that, but I think he shows up because that's just kind of the player that he is.
Football Flashback says, what if we switch to a 4-4-2 and Trent at right midfield? One wonders if we would, again, way too early, and it's more speculation than anything else, but when Mo leaves, which, we don't know if it'll be this summer. I think we were all guessing it was this summer. It's definitely not going to be this winter.
He's never leaving.
The season has unfolded because we were like, hey, we don't know, how the season goes. Maybe it will be January and stuff. But it feels like the way, we'll look at the standings in a bit over here. But I really feel like, there's no way it's happening January now. In a post-Salah Liverpool, I don't know if the formation would change. But knowing Klopp, I highly, highly doubt it. I think we put somebody over there or we get somebody over there to play that position instead and not change anything that we have. John says, really feel like that is how it is with Trent. He's 25 now, and I think we just have to accept he'll have one or two bozo moments, but also 3 or 4 killer passes.
He's 25? No.
Fact checking.
He's 25. Oh my God.
Don't be doubting John.
He was just 18. What the fuck?
Dude, what did I see the other day? I can't remember, but I saw somebody's age, and I was like, "How the hell is that even possible?" Like, he just started yesterday. Dom says, "Morning, fellas. Endo in for City. This is going to be a huge talking point. I think the over. See, this is where I'm torn at with the Endo in for City conversation. By the way, 3 days ago, everybody would be like, "Hell no," but now with one decent performance. It's not like he was the man of the match or anything like that, but decent performance against Brentford, which is a totally different type of game, right? It's a team that was going to sit back and counter, whereas City will not. And I don't know if that plays into Endo's hands or the opposite. I feel like this was good for Endo. These are games I think I want Endo and Matip to play against teams that sit back and wait. And then Endo protects against the counter. Matip can push up with the ball. I think that's like a good duo over there to have. Obviously, Van Dijk is the constant. But against teams that are going to be a bit more attacking minded, I just don't know how he will respond. Full Flashback says when Xavi takes over. So yes, they won again, and so yes, Ryan is only. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, and honestly, maybe because even this little tweak we did with Trent, I'm not too thrilled with because I don't think it's working. Dom says it's a formation thing, don't you think? You can't play players' position against arguably the second best team in the world. That is a good point as well. I hate to keep bringing this up because I know we're going to talk about it for 2 weeks now.
Just
but
do it.
Yeah, that's my fault for bringing it up. But I agree with Dom is saying in the sense that, yes, he's more natural. But, man, it does worry me. Having seen him on Thursday and that performance, those late tackles being a little bit slow, I really worry about how City would exploit that. I guess the only good thing is we have no idea who's going to play six, so neither will Pep, and it will be a harder time to prep for it.
I guess,
but
my only comment to that, real quick, is that while yes, you would want to play the players in their natural positions, if this is the way that they've been training and playing, and McAllister's been built up to be in that position, then at some point you kind of just have to go, all right, well, this is the position he's playing. This is it. And McAllister knows that that is his position, and that's not going to change. So you hope that he just grows into it. Again, it's only been 11 weeks, guys. Like, we didn't even expect to be in a title race this year with the amount of new players coming in. We thought we were going to have kind of a rocky year. And there's still plenty of time to have a rocky year, don't get me wrong. But I feel like I'm just sort of grateful that we're even talking about this in a way that allows us to think that, hey, we could actually be competing for this thing this year.
That's fair. Yes. I mean, I think we'll go back to the standings in a bit because I don't want to bring up something that Football Flashback was asking too. It's so interactive today. See, Dom says the players around him against Toulouse, and I do agree to a certain extent. The issue I had over there was he mistimed a lot of tackles. Like, he went in there like he was going to get the ball, like he stepped up to it, and then it ended up being a rough foul instead. So that timing and the pace of the game is different when you play against Brentford at home compared to City when, City has the ball, moving it around and stuff like that. You have to cover spaces. So it'll be interesting to see. Sparky's already started. Don't start worrying now, man. We got like
Jeremy Doku is in Sparky's nightmares. He's brought him up a few times now. And don't worry, he's in ours too.
He's in ours too. Yes. I think, the issue I worry about is in the past when you had somebody like that, you were like, you know what? Hendo will be over there to cover it. I just don't have as much faith with Szoboszlai doing that. Don't get me wrong, Szoboszlai obviously runs a lot. He's in like the top of the league, in like at least for our club for sure. But I think he's in the top 5 or top 10 in terms of like miles put kind of deal. But he still defends like an attacker, whereas Hendo defended more like a defender. Szoboszlai takes a bit more risks and stuff like that. Don't start these nightmares because I can already see Doku diving in between those two, where Szoboszlai is trying to get the ball so he can start the attack right away. Trent is kind of there, so I do worry about that because I don't feel like we have in the past when we had a guy like that on the left side. I always felt like, okay, when we play, Handel is going to be instructed to not venture too much and cut off those passing lanes. Don't let that guy get the ball, blah, blah, blah. I don't think we have that right now. So that's kind of a corner. So here's a good question right here. Football Flashlight says, would you guys offer Matip an extension?
It depends on what the money is, I guess. But yeah, I don't see why not, especially if we're not going to get any more center backs. If we're not going to get more center backs, then you have to offer them an extension.
Yeah, you would think it's not going to be much, right? And would you? I mean, the huge, like last year, everybody, as he was dipping down, I think the assumption was he will only dip down further this year, kind of a deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he has not. I feel like he has kind of like bounced back, actually. Sparky says 1 year, and I think really, if you sign if you sign Sparky, we can sign Sparky for a year too.
Fuck.
If you sign Matson for a year, you have Van Dijk, you have Konate. You're not moving Gomez, doesn't sound like, right? Mm-hmm. And you have Kwanzaa. Does that automatically say, well, we're not going to sign another center back? Whereas I think we were talking about in this offseason, and we're talking about it, we'll probably talk about it again in next offseason, that we would like, Van der Ven, I don't know, like he's injured. I know he's injured now, but man, that's one looks like that we kind of missed out on, because I think he would be perfect for this system. I did read about a dude in Sao Paulo yesterday, but it's all rumorville, so I didn't even bring it up because it sounded like like Liverpool's interested, but so are these other 10 teams kind of an article. So, but what do you say? Because if we do that, we're not bringing another center back. I think everybody's concern is, while I listed all these names, right, and you're now, when everybody is healthy, you're able to rotate and stuff. But Matip over time has shown that he's very injury prone. And sadly, we're seeing the same thing with Konate, where he is constantly injured. You're back to square one in your center back issues if you do not sign somebody, and you're not going to have 6 center backs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you said when everyone's healthy, but you can only rely on Konate being available every other week, it seems like, at this point. He's out with a hamstring issue until at least the City game. Do we know if he's going to be available for it? Most likely not. I don't think Klopp would want to throw him in coming off an injury after having no time for the last 2 weeks to train or anything like that. So I think Matip slots in against City because there's no other option. You're not going to throw Kwanzaa out there with Van Dijk. So I think overall, as much as I think is getting, I understand that the numbers of center backs might seem to be looming, and that it might seem like there's a big, there's not as much of a need, but just listing these guys, and when we talk about age and injury consistency, you have to get someone else that could potentially come in. But that's the problem. We've said this time and time again. You have to convince a project, not necessarily a project even, but someone who is capable of playing for 16, 17 teams in the Premier League consistently. You have to convince that player that you might not get to play all the time, but you should come here anyway, when they could be getting 90 minutes a game for nearly any other club in the league. Yes, I get it that it's, for some, they'll take the responsibility of a big club like this, and they'll sit on the bench if they need to, but it's not always an easy sell. And I feel like we sometimes think of it as, oh, it's just like FIFA career mode. I'll just give him an offer. He comes in, great. I don't need to play him. And if the morale thing says he's mad, I just turn that setting off because I don't need to hear about their morale. I don't give a shit. This is my team. I can do whatever I want with it. So it's difficult to bring someone in and promise them the opportunity if they know that they can get that opportunity nearly anywhere else. So yeah, it's weird. And that's the only reason I would want to extend Matip, because he's been great this year, and he provides a little bit of extra cover. And if him and Konate miss every other week, then maybe they can just, bounce between each other.
And honestly, like, one thing that, it was talked about we always said a Van Dijk backup to give Van Dijk more time off and stuff like that. So we always talked about left-footed, left-sided center back. But, the scenario that we just built, really, you still need a right one to cover Konate and Matip. And that's probably the only reason I say, I'm not saying no, like if they sign him an extension, like I was more like, I don't know about this, so the Costas extension, and I'll be honest. because I was like, why on this it's kind of like locker room situation and depth that's okay with being depth kind of an ordeal, but it's still not somebody who's going to push Robertson and stuff. So I did not understand that move. But like I would not be as against a Matip extension, but that to me says you're punting away your center back issues another year. And I felt like this was the year you've addressed your midfield for a long time to come in terms of like age and youth and stuff like that, except your defensive midfielder. I feel like up top, you're set in terms of age and stuff like that again. So I kind of felt like, you would kind of like take a look at your back line this offseason and kind of like reinforce that. And I don't know if you're going to do that if you're signing Matt to an extension in the center back position. And goes back to what you're saying. The dude who's coming in already as a semi backup would even be less likely to come saying, holy cow, you guys have like 6 center backs over there. Like, when am I going to play? Kind of an ordeal. Dom says, would you take a punt on Calvin Phillips in January? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Van Dijk, Matip, on paper, yeah, that's pretty good, right? That quality-wise. But then when they, Calvin Phillips, I would probably say no. What do you say?
I would say no. I mean, I would have taken a punt on him this summer as a DM, but I wouldn't take a punt on him in January for center back cover.
See, that's the thing, because I mean, he would play the defensive mids, I assume, right? If we get him in. But yeah, I don't know. I don't take that as I rather get somebody who's gonna solve we have a temporary fix, and I don't see Calvin Phillips as a long-term fix, to be honest. So I would rather have them get somebody who's gonna be a long-term fix.
Just go out, buy Mark Gahey, and call it a day, and you're set.
Andre, who we're suddenly not interested, but I think we were talking about it last Friday. It sounded more like a negotiation tactic that we're like, hey, we're making an offer. We're not getting into a bidding war for Andre and stuff like that in January. But this is a good point, actually. Like, being in Europa does help the cause, I think, because you can rest Van Dijk. Whereas if you were in the Champions League, you have to put Van Dijk out there every single game. So he's playing every single game. And I think that's when we kind of wore him down a little bit too.
I mean, do you have to play him every single game in the Champions League?
I guess it depends on your group, but
there were moments. Yeah, there were moments, especially. I mean, I just go back to the Jota injury when we had already won the group, and there was no need to send anyone out there. And those are the frustrating moments. But yeah, I think if in the next, after the group stage, Van Dijk's going to definitely be playing 90 both legs, I imagine.
Yeah.
Unless it's a weaker opponent and you win, 4-0 in the away leg, something like that.
I guess it depends on the group, but Ryan's is not in group. But okay, let's say you're in Newcastle's group. He's playing every game.
Oh yeah, I mean, and there was that year that we had PSG and Napoli. Yeah. I can't remember. But yeah, he was needed every single game then.
So I think, yeah, I think John is right. Being in Europa kind of helps the cause, and he is looking better and better. Like I say, he will never be the old Van Dijk we were talking about in the post match, but I think he's getting closer and closer to it. And that's all you can ask, obviously, as he ages, because a close to his greatness Red Star Belgrade. That's what.
Thanks, Dom.
Yeah, like, close to his best, Van Dijk is still one of the best center backs in the world, because he was by far the best when he was at his best. So I'll take it. It's like a lot of good signs. His pace is kind of back. His reaction is good. We're back to the Van Dijk who's confident in bringing the ball down and putting it right back into play when he cuts off passes, as opposed to just being happy with, getting rid of it kind of an ordeal. So he's more back to himself, which I really like seeing. Okay. Another thing I really like seeing, I would have loved to see us be at 29 and beat Luton Town. That's probably the one game that I'm like, man, we felt Chelsea was going to be that game, right? We should have won that one in the beginning when Chelsea was a mess. But that Luton Town game is going to come back to haunt me a lot, because we would be top of the league right now. But having said that, and let's go right here, the biggest shock to you in that, is it Chelsea being 10th?
Really quick, this is just something that I when looking at that and just thinking about the past, just makes my face just look like this, just flashbacks, or sad flashbacks of draws and losing out by 1 point. But yeah, sorry. Question was about Chelsea.
I mean, the biggest shock is probably Chelsea
Yeah.
standings after 12 weeks,
Well,
right?
I'd say so. I mean, maybe Spurs being top 4 at this point is
That's
a
fair.
little bit of more of a shock than I expected. I think with Villa's form towards the end of the year last year, that's not shocking because they are, I think, second or third overall since Emery came in. So they've been great. I think Chelsea then the next one would have to be Chelsea, especially with the amount of money they spent. But after yesterday's game with all those fours, that's kind of weird. The big 4-4. It's going to get interesting to see how they start clicking. Maybe Pochettino is finally going to get it going. And unfortunately, like we will keep saying, we kind of played them at the best time we could have played them. And unfortunately, we didn't get as much out of it as we should have.
Yeah, Dom says Diaz's goal versus Spurs is the most annoying thing about the table. Yeah, I mean, I kind of blocked it in my mind. That's kind of like a memory erased from that area, I think. So I try not to think about it.
Look at United's goals for and goals against Newcastle's goals for and goals against, and tell me what the fuck is going on.
That's crazy, by the way.
Obviously, Newcastle scored 9 against Sheffield. Like, so there is, let's say it's 18-13. But that's still, I mean, it's just ridiculous to have a -3 goal difference and sitting in 6th.
Dude, to be fair, I mean, honestly, 13 goals getting you 21 points is pretty amazing by itself.
Yeah, I mean, let's try and not give them too much credit. But yeah, it's great.
I mean, that's all these 1-0 wins is really getting in there. I mean, I think, Tottenham are, in that zone. The international break probably came at a good time for them, but does not sound like the key guys, they're not going to get back in time either way.
Right.
So I do feel like they will start dipping down because I don't think they have the depth. But Arsenal and City, I mean, City, we kind of assume will be there. And I think Arsenal, right? So this is going to be more of a, do you expect us to keep going like this, I guess? Because this is kind of overachieving to what we thought. I mean, you're always going to be optimistic and go for the title and stuff like that. We want trophies and we want it all. But going into this season, especially after last season, and then going in with a brand new midfield, which we thought would take longer to gel, not having a natural 6, aside from Endo. I think this is probably way over expectations.
I agree. Yeah, because going into it, I think we talked about it just 15 minutes ago. This was not anywhere where we expected to be, which makes it more annoying because then if it's tight throughout the whole year and you end up losing by a couple points again, then it's just more of the same frustration and unfortunate feelings. So I don't know what to take at this point, whether I would have comfortably just been, 7-8 points out of the title race, knowing that this was a rebuilding year and being comfortable with that, or being excited about this being a rebuilding year technically, and then still being within a fighting chance of the title. I don't know which one I'd prefer. You should ask me in April, and I'll let you know.
So, yeah, Sparky says top 3 finish, but not winning the league. And I think that's I like that number there because I feel like this is a 3-headed race. Out of when you look at all those teams over there, we just talked about United. Villa, I mean, is really good at home, but not so much going away. Do you see, by the way, one thing I'm shocked at seeing over here, because as a club where we constantly complaining about like conceding first and stuff like that, I am kind of shocked that we are tied for the lowest goals against so far.
Yeah, I mean, we consistently concede 1. You know, that's just kind of how
Yeah,
it
that's
goes.
just really odd because I felt like that number would be much higher because it feels like we give away at least one goal every week. But
Yeah.
there has been, I guess, like a little streak of like clean sheets here and there. But anywho, like going back to that, and Spurs we talked about. Do you feel like these three start pulling away, or there's so many games where they play each other that, Tottenham, United, Villa would stay at an arm's length?
Man, I hope that within, in March that we could say that there's still 5 teams within 7 points of each other. I think that would make it really exciting. This, after 12 games, it's probably the most competitive that we've seen in maybe half a decade. So if anything, it's just exciting to see this because it feels like, and this is like famous last words, it feels like there's chance for City to actually drop points this year. And then watch we come back in May and they'll be 35, 1
Yeah,
and
they'll
2.
win like 18 in a row or something crazy. And I guess that's the question. Yesterday's game, does it say more about Chelsea or does it say more about City?
I think we learned a little bit about both.
Don't do that.
Call me Peter
Don't
Schmeichel.
do that.
No, I think
this is not a post-match press conference, man.
I think we learned more about Chelsea because City did go to Stamford Bridge at the end of the day. I know it's not technically a fortress, but they were still away. Conditions were a little, left a little to be invited. So I think Chelsea responded really well to City going up, and I think we saw the potential of what they can produce offensively. They still have major problems at the back, but if anything, I mean, we saw that City can be pretty vulnerable, and they do leak a little bit in the back too, and potentially Ederson being a little hurt. We don't know the extent of that, so that could change things a little bit.
Yeah, Sparky says you can't get at City at the moment. I felt, and that first penalty, by the way, was a freaking joke. And I mean, I would hate to be a defender right now in this league because I mean, so the attacking player can tug at your jersey, but you can't tug at theirs. Yeah. Even the pundit, was it Lasso or was it like Dixon? They were like, oh, they're like both tugging at each other. Okay, then why does the attacker get the advantage there? Then if they're both like yanking each other down, it's not like they played like it was a goal and they let it stand, or it was a penalty and they let it stand. I mean, they came back to it and they like confirmed that it's a penalty. I just do not get that at all. I felt like that was like a ridiculous penalty to give them.
Go
ahead.
You'd have 3 or 4 penalties a game if you were giving stuff like that, because it happens in the box all the time.
And I mean, yesterday your boy Jota was constantly trying to get that, especially in the first half.
Don't even get me started with Jota. He will wrap his arms around the defender and then bring him down with him and go, "What the fuck? He took me down. He took me down."
He tried it a couple of times yesterday. I was like, dude, give it up. Start going for the header because it's not working. But you saw what Jota can do in the goal, where he can create his own shots. Like they say in basketball and NBA, a guy who can create his own shot. It feels like when he faces up against someone, he can create enough space to crack one, and that was just like a beautiful goal.
It was a great goal. Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic finish, and that's what he's capable of doing, is finishing really well, and we know that. So yeah, it was great.
I was trying to get like as many compliments from you on Jota as possible while we're at it.
You're welcome. That's as much as you'll get from me.
What do we have here?
Oh, well, now you just spoiled it.
Sorry.
It's okay. So I found this was pretty interesting. Mohamed Salah is the first player in Liverpool's history to score in each of Liverpool's first 6 home league games of a season.
That's crazy how, I mean, you look at yesterday's game, it's not like he had like a crazy game, but I was watching like a video like talking about like Liverpool and stuff. He has become this like game winner where like he just changed, like obviously with his presence he changes the game, right? Because he changes how the other team defends, but he's just a game, like you can't really buy a player like him. You can't put a price on him, and that's what's going to make it so challenging when if people come in, like in Saudis coming with these crazy offers, because there is nobody that you can say, well, we'll just put him there, because he has that extra thing that no other player is really going to have, because only a few players ever do. So it's almost going to be impossible to replace and put a price on.
And if he leaves, where is Darwin going to get his assists from?
No shit. Yeah.
He's going to have 0 assists, and then everyone's going to go, look, he doesn't contribute anything. He doesn't have any assists. Where'd Mo go?
Great ball, by the way, on that first goal.
Yeah.
Very, like, it's almost like that was Bobby-like. You just don't expect that out of Nunez. I think that's why I was more shocked in terms of like the touch he put on that ball and like the, putting it up. And yes, I actually see. I was trying to block that out. Dom was really blowing the.
So was I.
Bringing up the Tottenham game now, bringing this up. We're trying to put the stuff faster. I already have Grumpy over here, so don't get him started like even further. Yes, Afghan is going to be tricky, really. Who would replace Mo right now? Like, who would you make your front three since it came up?
Oh man, throw Harvey in there. I think he's played really well, and I think we talked about this yesterday on the pre-match, is that some people feel like he's played so well and he's not getting the opportunity that he should be getting. Then that's because the midfield pretty much seems to be pretty locked down. So I think maybe throwing Harvey up there along with Nunez and Diaz, because I know Dom mentions Diaz, Jota, Nunez. All of those guys want to be on the left or the center. They're all going to just drift, and they're all going to end up on this side of the field together. So I don't know if that'll work. Whereas Harvey will operate that space and kind of make it his own, and he likes having that freedom up there. So I would go with Harvey because Doak's not ready, and unless you play around with maybe throwing Soboslai up there, and then maybe having a midfield of McAllister, Gravenberch, and Jones, something like that. Could be interesting, but I think Harvey for me would slot up there.
Yeah, Sparky and Ryan is on your side. I'm probably more with Dom on this one. I do, mainly because I'm looking at what Mo does. Right? I mean, I understand in terms of positioning and natural being right side and stuff, but when you look at any given game and what Mo does in terms of, he's, despite his size, at times he plays like a number 9, the way he holds the ball and lets you push up the field. And, like he can, I mean, he's so strong for like a little dude that he does that a lot in a game where we push it up to him. He controls the ball, like kind of like lets us move up the field a little bit. And then even if he just drops it to Trent or like, back to Matip or Konate or whatever, he let us basically push up. He actually does hold up play from the wing. You're never going to get that from Elliott. And the issue is you're not getting the reverse from Elliott either. You're not getting the speed to go behind. Bandok, at least you're getting that. I know you're not getting the strength, but at least you're getting the speed to scare you to go behind. I don't think you're getting that with Elliott. So I feel like that will be setting Elliott up to fail. But I do know what you're saying in terms of, you do go with Dom Citizen, which is probably what I would go with Diaz, Jota, Nunez, unless, how about them apples? Soboslai on the right-hand side. And then you put Gravenberch, Mac, and Endo in midfield.
I just said that.
So you said Harvey, I thought.
Yeah, but then right after that I said, unless you put Soboslai up there, you have a midfield.
I would actually, I definitely would go with that. I didn't catch that at the end. I know you went with Harvey. I was stuck at Harvey, and I was like, wait, no, I'm not doing Harvey.
I'm confused. I don't know. Maybe I said that in my head, and it didn't come out of my mouth.
Back to the tape. Go back to. Because
throw the red flag.
I was like, okay, maybe I was reading a comment.
I did say Harvey
at the end.
But then afterwards, I said throw Subbo up there on the right, and then have a midfield of Gravenberch, McAllister, Jones, which could be interesting. What about? I mean, we're forgetting about Gakpo too. Like, what if you did Diaz, Gakpo, Jota?
Diaz, Gakpo, Jota. I mean, in terms of you're getting like really good interplay there, I'm not sure about the wing again. Or I mean, I guess I don't know if Diaz would be playing on the right in a scenario like that.
They would just switch every 5 minutes.
Answer, yeah. Let's answer. Hold on, we didn't have a producer on the show, so I'm producing at the same time. Okay, January. I don't know when exactly AFCON is. By the way, is it in January?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a huge gap in January. I assume something is going to fill that in eventually, but there's nothing from January 1st to January 21st on
So
Liverpool's current schedule. We play Newcastle on New Year's Day, and then Bournemouth away on January 21st is the next game, and then Chelsea on the 31st at the end of the month.
there could be cup
I'm
games.
assuming, yeah,
Yeah.
like the League Cup and FA Cup is going to fill in the blanks, or I don't know if that, because I don't think there's any other international breaks, are there? Because these are the last batch of games for qualifiers, I thought.
Yeah. So the AFCON goes from January 13th to January 24th. And then there's also the Asian Cup.
Yeah, because this concludes, I believe, because it is match day 8, match day 9. No, maybe there's one more game left. I know Turkey is playing against Germany. Is Turkey, not Turkey. Turkey plays against Germany on Saturday, and then they play a huge game against Wales on Tuesday, which makes you think, why the hell are they doing a friendly on Saturday? But man, like a lot to get to over this international break. I guess that's the only good thing, because the international break is over here. I wish we didn't come back with an early morning game against City, because that's gonna make me freaking like tense for like 2 weeks straight now. Ryan says I do Soboslai too. Apparently, so does the Polish Prince. But see, Ryan threw me under the bus too, because he said I agree with Polish Prince. I would do Harvey. See, you guys are doing the same thing. You guys.
I said Harvey first. I'm not disagreeing. I did say Harvey first, but then afterwards I did say Sobo. I did.
So let's get to your homework, though. What you will be working on this international break.
Yes, so I figured because we'd have so much to talk about today, we'll have less to talk about over the national break, that the cocktail list will be out next Monday. It's the Polish Prince guarantee. Next Monday there will be a cocktail list that goes along with the Polturk food menu, and we'll have it all ready to go. The only thing that's missing is a space and a chef and a bartender, and we'll be good to go.
I think Ryan is the chef. We just got to be able to get everybody together.
Oh, right. We have volunteers.
We don't have volunteers.
Yeah.
We need somebody to volunteer their kitchen, I guess, is the main thing. If anybody has a restaurant that they can let us into their kitchen, this would be great. We would take Ryan over there, the recipes over there. I mean, mind you said the Polish Prince guarantee, but if you're a football flashback, I would not put money on that, because we have been. You would lose.
Don't parlay it with other things.
But yes, we'll be back next Monday with the cocktail list. So that should be interesting.
Oh, did you hear about De Zerbi's comments about not liking 80%?
Oh yes, I was going to ask you about that. Actually, hold on, let me put that on the screen over here. We all felt it was actually kind of low on the low end.
Well, I was going to say, you know what? I think that apparently De Zerbi doesn't know the other 20%, because he wouldn't like any of them.
I honestly think he didn't want to say I hate all of them, so he's like, let me pick a number and went with like 80%.
Let's do it. 4 out of every 5, they're garbage.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know. I didn't see the situation that he probably made him say this. I have not seen most of like the highlights and stuff like that. Wait, what? Ryan is a brewer? Whoa. Time out over here. And he has a buddy in South Bend with the restaurants. We're making this out because, I mean, South Bend is what, like an hour and a half from us? I know you live like a couple of hours away from me. So how far away is it from here?
I'm trying to calculate that in Polish minutes. Yeah, about 2 hours.
Yeah, I think so too. So it's 2 hours away. We could all just go there. Bring a couple of cell phones for recording and record away at the restaurants. We should definitely make this happen. We just need actually those recipes. I know you made the menu, but a menu is not a recipe.
Hey, I did my job. I made a menu. I don't have to tell you how much of each thing to put in there. That's for smarter people to figure out.
Yeah, we need that. So his buddy is gonna need to be in there, so we don't put too much of some shits in something. But I mean, obviously, other managers saying this stuff. We were talking about this in the panel show on Wednesday, and if you have not, definitely watch the panel show from last Wednesday. It was like six of us on the panel, a great time, and it was like very interesting to hear perspectives from different clubs, and because we talked about like the Newcastle Arsenal game as well as the Tottenham Chelsea game, but one thing we talked about was the fact that it's always one manager coming out after every week against the Premier League and the PGMOL and stuff. They get fined, they go, the next one comes up, the next one comes up. Do you think we will have a time? Because this is like your flavor of the week, right? It's deserving this week. Last week it was Arteta. A month ago it was Klopp and stuff like that. Do you think we'll get a time where everybody piles on to build enough pressure to bring some freaking sort of change?
Perhaps, but we won't see that change until next year. They're not going to do something where they drastically change it in the middle of the year, because then that'll just lead to kind of opening up a can of worms that I don't think we want to open. Having teams go, well, if things didn't change, we wouldn't have been relegated. We would have kept the same system. Blah blah blah. I don't think it would work that way. But I would much rather have these clubs and managers sort of stand up for each other and defend each other while one brings something up, rather than constantly saying, oh, this is just the way it's supposed to go, blah blah blah, and then 3 weeks later when it goes against you, suddenly your tune changes. I know De Zerbi isn't as at fault for that like Arteta is, but you have to have consistency in how the managers feel too, because if they're going back and forth, and then nothing's going to get done.
And that's the issue, right? Like everybody has to be on the same page, and you got to be consistent with your message. I think some managers are sometimes afraid to be like, I'm not going to stick my neck out for that dude because I'm going to have that guy refereeing my game next week. And we know that these guys kind of hold grudges. I mean, you can't do what Arteta does over here and on October 6th say, oh yeah, we need to understand mistakes happen. And then come November 4th say, oh yeah, I feel sick, embarrassed. Where's my passport? I've been here 20 years, kind of an ordeal. So that's the issue there. And I don't know if it changes really. I don't think it changes because there's always going to be these managers that are more like teacher's pets, that they're going to be like, they're just trying. Don't forget next week we play here, kind of an ordeal. And it's always going to be one manager who got screwed saying it and calling it. And I'll be honest, I think every manager, including probably Klopp, is at fault. I mean, you rarely do say, managers never say, like, if they even know the call went for them unfairly, it's always like, oh, I don't know, I had to go back and watch it, I wasn't close enough, blah blah blah, like bullshit like that, as opposed to saying like, yeah, that probably shouldn't have had a call. You rarely see a manager ever admit to that. Ryan says, I'm loving the panel show, please don't stop doing that, love hearing from fans of other teams. Yeah, I mean, I do really enjoy that just because of exactly that, like hearing from fans of other teams, because I think we have a group, and that's like a good representation, I feel like, Matish, where we have a group that, I mean, we have established, we have Newcastle, Arsenal, Tottenham, Fulham, and Villa right now, and we're like looking to add more clubs. And all these are great guys, and they're not like meatheads, but at the same time, everybody comes in with a built-in fan bias one way or the other. I think that it was pretty good overall. Like they tried to be as objective as possible because we had Newcastle and Arsenal and stuff. But it's kind of like cool to hear the perspectives, because obviously we always get our perspective, our little bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the best way, and this goes beyond sports. I mean, if you just talk to people that don't always view things the same as you, there's conversations to be had to understand where someone is coming from and why they feel a certain way. I think that's a valuable thing. It can be as trivial as a sports decision, or as as significant as sort of how you were brought up. Then yeah, it's always a beneficial conversation to have.
Look at you, went all deep on us over here too, first thing on a Monday morning. But yeah, I think that's a great point. That goes with anything, to hear a different perspective and not be in your own bubble. Because I think, obviously as Liverpool fans, we're kind of, in the social media and stuff like that too. And, you have other Liverpool people in social media. So you kind of like live in your own bubble, and you occasionally see like this other. And I feel like, when you see something shared from another fan's perspective, it's always like the meathead over the top perspective that's shared in yours to make fun of it, as opposed to somebody trying to be semi-objective, because obviously that doesn't get clicks or conversations or a reaction. So people share like, look, they think Maguire is the best center back. Like they won't share something somewhere in the middle in terms of like, other fans' perspective. I really actually like hearing a lot, especially from like Fulham, Villa, and stuff like that. Teams that are maybe not as privileged, if you will. They're not considered like the big teams, and how they view these referee decisions. And I thought that's why it was important to kind of like push this more, coming from a, upper table, I guess, Brighton. You wouldn't even call them mid-table, but because these are the team. Because I feel like when it's Wolves or Burnley and stuff like that, they're like, oh, they're just crying because they don't want to get relegated. And when it's big teams complaining, what I find, especially hearing some of the panel guys talk, is it becomes as, like rich people problems kind of a thing when, like a Liverpool or City or United complain about a call, as opposed to Wolves getting screwed because it might cost them relegation.
Yeah, it's always funny though, because then if you have a club that's of smaller stature say something, then you just have fans of bigger clubs, or the bigger clubs just go, man, whatever. They're you don't need to listen to them. There's just a little mosquito in your ear. They're not gonna stick around. Just fine. But I think it also, to deserve his credit, he is a really good manager as well. And it's not just a smaller club with a decent manager. It's a smaller club with a really great manager that's played really well the last 2 years. And so it sort of means, it's really corny, it means more. I hate that I just
all
said
the great
that.
social message with a really
I said that unironically, and I'm just
back to reckless coffee. But I mean, yeah, we're looking at a long international break here, where, man, it's going to be a nervous and long international break. So I don't know if honestly, I don't know if anybody looks forward to international breaks, but this less than any other.
Well, especially not me, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, what happened? What's going on with Poland? They're still in it, right?
Technically, yeah.
So positive. What are they playing? What do they have to do? Come on,
I'm not even. I honestly haven't even been paying attention because I'm so devastated by it all. Let me just take a quick look.
I'll tell you right now, Czechia, Friday. I don't know if that's it is a qualifier.
Yeah, it is. So they need to beat Czechia to have any chance of qualifying, and then, yeah, that's the last game of the group, and then they need Czechia to lose to Moldova or to draw to Moldova, and
okay, so
that's
not even in their hands.
No, it's not. No, they need to beat Czechia and then have them drop points against Moldova, which, I mean, Moldova has a chance to still make it, so they have something to play for. So I guess it's not totally out of the realm of possibility, but I'm not holding my breath. That's for sure.
But of course, by then, Moldova, who plays Albania, might be out of it.
If they lose to Albania, correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow.
So
that's a shocker, honestly. I hate to keep rubbing it in, but if
take it. It's absolutely disappointing. It's pretty much what's the word I'm looking for?
Bullshit.
Unacceptable.
Okay, let's go with that. That's a bit more politically correct. Okay, let's go with that. Okay, well, as always, thanks a lot to all those listening, commenting today. It's been a great conversation. I honestly totally went off script over here. Was definitely not planning on talking about a lot of the stuff we talked about today.
Mondays.
Did not want to look that far ahead, but yeah, this is Monday. It's kind of a improv Monday, if you will. We improv every Monday over here, but tune in next Monday to hear about the Polish-Turkish restaurants drink specials. Actually, these are going to be on the menu. They're not even going to be specials. They're going to be there all the time.
Though they are specials, they're all the time.
Oh,
Or
they're
one of those
special every day.
one of those restaurants where your drink specials are just your little list of cocktails that you never change because they're special.
So, I mean, if people should be bringing their glasses, I would like bring in martini glasses, or what are we bringing over? I was gonna bring one this morning. I wasn't even sure what kind of glass to bring to the show. I mean,
Well,
Grumpy is gonna be here, one way or freaking other. It's a Monday,
I mean,
but you will bring a friend.
my thought was having 5 cocktails all from with different bases in there, which will require different glasses because they all require different methods of making and then aesthetically they all will look a little different. So
I'll bring the whole fucking
yeah, just bring a whole bar.
But yes, tune in for that next Monday. That's something to look forward to, especially for the drunks out there. Join us as we come up with those cocktails. Well, not us, I should say. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, what fucking
mine
us?
is a brewer, and this guy is a bartender. You did it for quite some time, right?
Half a decade, yeah.
Half a decade. So he's been doing it since he was 5, basically. Serving at the bar.
It was illegal, but they let me do it. Don't know how I got away
so a
with
lot
it.
of experience. It's not like me when I just go to the cabinet and be like, "Ooh, that sounds interesting," and make stuff like a mad scientist. But
sometimes that's how the best drinks turn out. Honestly,
and
like,
sometimes
how would this? And sometimes it makes you want to puke. Absolutely.
But you never go to waste. You chug it down anyway and try again. That's how I roll. But tune in tonight for our regular Monday podcast, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. And I'll be back again with the morning crew on Wednesday morning. Give us a like and subscribe. Invite a friend over. Spread the word. We were really trying to hit 600 by Thanksgiving over here, so we can thank 600 when the Thanksgiving rolls around. So give us a hand. Invite someone over. Let's push these subscribers and get more chats in the line as well. And bring all your freaking glasses to next Monday. Have an awesome week.